dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up. In the Menudo style in a direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding! Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel. It's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled and I'm very much appreciative. So gracias. So I was asked the other night, damn, Gun, what's up? How did it feel to get jumped in a barrio? Shit, I did it twice, homie. One time passed and then I did it again. But the second time was more hilarious than the first time because I didn't even know I was getting jumped in. I thought I was just getting beat up. I thought I was getting DP. Didn't know what was happening. No diddy, right? But at the same time, it happened, man. So I'm going to tell you guys the story on how felt the first time getting jumped in and the second time. And shit, you never know. There may be a third time in the future, one of these days. One never knows, does one. But I know for sure this is the truth. So I was a youngster, man, and I was infatuated with the hood. Infatuated with the gang. See, I grew up in a little area called Beechwood in Merced. And it's on the outskirts, not necessarily on the west side, the east side, the north, none of that. It's on the outskirts. It's kind of like its own little entity, right? There's a lot of people that live in Beechwood. A lot of people right off Chesler. A lot of people, right? So I'm living in Beechwood and I'm a youngster and I'm running around doing my thing with my friends and going to school. I was going to Franklin School at that time. I was real little. And all I seen was gangs all around me and I wanted to participate. That's what drew me in, was not necessarily the money, the drugs, the women. None of that. I was too young for all that. What drew me in was just being a part of something. And it just happened to be that the friends that I hung around with were all norteños or trying to be wannabes. You know, we wanted to be, we ended up becoming, but at that time we all wanted to be. There's not a time that we're not a wannabe. You know, I hear this thing, oh, that dude's just a wannabe. Well, we all wanted to be something when we grew up, and that's what we end up being, right? So I remember the very first time, what happened was, I had a homeboy that moved into the Beechwood area that was already from a barrio. He was a few years older than me. So I started hanging around with him and the older fellas. And we would go to the west side. We'd jump on our bikes. We'd ride to the west side. And that's when I really seen some gang shit. Because where I was at, you know, there was gang things going on. I'd see the mini trucks cruising up and down the street with the earthquakes bumping. You know, seen women. I seen all this little shit, but I never really seen what it was to live on the west side. So as I went over there, and eventually we ended up moving to the west, right? But as I went over there, I started to realize, now this is where gang activity is very high. This is where it really is what it is. And I had to make a decision. And I remember one day I was chilling with the homeboys. We're at this school called Tenaya. And school wasn't on and we were just hanging around out there. And a few of the homies were like, hey, you want to get put on the neighborhood that my homeboy was from? And I'd been hanging around with them for a while. See, that's what happens, you know, especially in Mexican gangs. I don't know about blacks or white gangs, but you have to be like a hang around for a while. You have to be involved at a certain level for a minute, putting in a little bit of work, a little spray painting, never hurt nobody, right? A little vandalism, a little breaking in cars. I was a knucklehead. I was the bad kid your mom warned you about. Don't hang around with him because he's going to be trouble. I was that, right? So I remember that day, man. They asked me if I wanted to get put on. Of course, yes. I couldn't wait fast enough. And then they beat me up for 14 seconds. Now, in every different hood, it's different. Like if you're from 12th Street, it'd be 12 seconds. If you're a Sureño or a Southsider, it'd be 13 seconds. If you're from 18, it's 18. If you're from the Norteño movement, probably going to be 14 seconds. So for 14 seconds, I got my ass whooped. And I got my ass whooped pretty good by 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And I was a young kid. I was like 10 years old, barely going to be 11, right? And I remember getting my ass whipped, but I took it like I was supposed to. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I made it. This is it. I'm in now, right? And I was very happy that day. There was no partying after, no hugs, no pat on the backs. It was kind of like they just jumped me in because they wanted to beat up on someone. But I felt like I was the man now. So now I felt like I had to prove myself. So now I went even harder in the paint. And for several years, man, every time I would be sitting there locked up, incarcerated, thinking about what I did and why I did it, I always resorted back to, well, this is what you signed up for. This is what you truly wanted. And I would always remember that day how I felt like something's been lifted off my shoulders, right? And really what it was that wannabe status, that trying to be something. Now I was, or at least I thought I was, right? I was so confused and mixed up as a kid. And nobody was telling me to not join a gang. You know, my mother would tell me like, hey, you shouldn't be involved with the bad people. But she didn't even know too much about that. You know, she's old school from 18th Street back in the days, but she never really was participant. She had her kids at a young age, and that was that. You know, she was a mother first and foremost. So I kind of had to learn on my own. Father was in and out of prison, so he wasn't really someone, a spokesperson. He wasn't someone to really enlighten me. And everyone that I looked up to were gang members. So I had no choice, right? I had a choice, but I didn't have a choice. And so my tios that were involved in the gangs would tell me, hey, we're doing it like this, we're doing it like that. And I remember, man, every summer I would go out to my grandmother's to Turlock, California, which is right down the street from Merced. And I'd function out there with the West Side Tur locals because my uncle those were all his homeboys. So I had my little like history out there with them fucking around on the streets. And then I would go back to Merced and I was deep in the mix there. And then eventually I caught my murder case. I ended up going to YA, right? And now I really thought I was the man. I thought I had all the juice like Tupac in the movie Juice. I was him, right? So I'm 18 years old and I get out. And I'm from the hood. And I remember that first night getting out, getting a hold of one of my best friends. All the homies came and swooped me up in the Cutlass on Go ones. We all went out to Ceres to the drive-in. And I've told this story. I was a virgin and everything at that time. I ain't never had pussy or nothing. We went out there 2-3 carloads deep. And that movie Eraser and the movie Independence Day was playing. It was fresh out. Double feature, right? At the Ceres drive-in. Old school drive-in just like you see in the movies. And I ended up knocking a chick. I'm 18 years old. She's older than me by like 20. Whatever, man. My first experience, I'm all happy. I remember her name was Jocelyn Lopez, Q-Vol. We can reminisce anytime you want to. Things have really changed, right? I've changed. So anyways, we're kicking back, doing our thing. And it's hood business on mine. And you got to understand, I had that YA mentality. So everywhere I went, I wanted to represent. I'm going hard in the paint. And even more so than the hood, I was now into the north there. I was into that, pushing that movement. So I remember, man, my hood was going at it with the Merced Gangsta Crips, and we were going at it with the north side of Merced, pretty heavy. This had happened, whatever beef had happened before I got out of YA, that's what I got right into. But I also had come from a situation where all Norteños were together. So I didn't want to do the red on red. I didn't want to fight with other homies. Like I felt like, hey, bro, what we're doing is wrong. We don't need to be fucking beating up on our own. We have opposition right in our backyard. There's Southsiders right there from A-Town, Southsiders from Winton. We got to worry about them, posting up on our spot rather than, thinking about other homies. And there was plenty of times because I was 18 now and I was educated enough to understand the difference of what was going on that I would tell the younger homies that were coming up. I would lace them up, give them clecha. Like, nah, bro, don't trip off other homies from the other side. It's not like that. This and that. Now, you got to understand, this is way before dropout days and are you active and all this new shit that's out lately that people say. No one was saying that. Hey, you homie? Boom. Cool, right? That was that. So I got jumped in again. Okay, and let me tell you how that went down. And I'm only doing this video because someone asked me on the live last night, hey, man, how many times did you get jumped in? I said, I actually got jumped in twice. But the second time was unknowing. So I got a homeboy from my hood, Baby, right? And Baby, man, is a nut. Okay, he's always been. He has a big family. His whole family's from the barrio. Very well known in Merced. Frank ain't no joke. Put it like that. Frank the Tank. He's the homie. Me and him were friends outside of being friends. We were homeboys from the hood, but he was my friend too. He always had a lot of love for me, a lot of respect. He just liked me. And I've also didn't like too many people. And you could tell he would get this look on his face. And he was known to have major super duper hands in the hood. Everyone in Merced knew, like, hey, Baby ain't no fucking, he's no slouch, homie. You don't want to fight him. There was like several guys in Merced that no one wanted to fight. He was on that list as one of them. He's in the top 3, right? He had major hands. And he had moved. So I'm 18. He was like in his 20s. And he had moved to Chowchilla, which is a little town in Merced County. You hear about Chowchilla prison. He lived in the city, right? So him and his old lady and his kids lived out there. So he would come back to the hood like maybe once or twice a month. Post up at the home. Every time he came, or if he fought with his old lady, he'd come. But when he did come, because his jefita lived right there in the hood, like the heart of dead end, where the dead end sign was, that was like his family's pad, right? So he'd come back, and when he came back, man, his old lady would park right there, and he'd be with the homies everywhere, getting in the mix, doing his thing, right? And so I remember one day they were like, I was at the dead end store, which is our neighborhood store. Everyone has a barrio store, right? And I'm chilling right there with the homie. And one of the homeboys pulls up and he's like, hey, bro, fucking Baby's down. And because he was like one of the older homeboys, or one that we all aspired to be like, he was already doing his prison thing. He had already went through YA. He's doing prison. I hadn't been to prison yet. I was fresh out of YA. But, I was eager to participate in the shenanigans. They were like, hey, Baby's here. I was like, oh, that's right. Where's he at? They're like, he's at the Dead End Park. Now, we have a park in the hood. It's our own park. I think every hood has their own little park where people post up. Now, ours ain't even a fucking park. It's got one bench, one slide, and a bunch of fucking beer cans, right? And crack, if you really look close. But it had, the homies would post up there. That was where we'd have juntas back in the days and discussions and little things used to happen. But we weren't there very much, right? So for Homeboys to be posted up there was very, very rare. It always has been. We just didn't even chill at our own hood park because it wasn't shit to do. There wasn't even a fucking barbecue pit, I don't think. So they were like, hey, y'all, the homies, there's hella homies over there chilling at the park. And I was like, serio? And me, my mentality was anything north it, anything that had to do with the Homeboys, I wanted to be in the mix. I wanted to be all up in that. I wanted to fucking be participating. I wanted to see what was going on. And they're like, yeah, they're having like a junta over there. It's just gang of homies. I was like, oh, yeah. I'll pull up right now. Now, you got to understand, the dead end store is right on Childs and R Street, right in the heart of our hood. So you only walk like down the street, bust a little left, you're at the park. Or right, you're at the park, right? So me and the homie band, we get our little fucking drinks or whatever. I'm like, let's go over there with the homies. Yeah, cool. So as we're walking, we hear a bunch of people. That's our hood shit, right? That's like our hood call. Like, hey, the homies are coming up. So we're walking. We see a gang of flamed up homeboys, northerners. They're all chilling right there. Like, oh, that's right. We hadn't done this much. Like, we'd kick back in front of Baby's pad or we'd kick back at certain little cut spots. But to be all at the park like this, I felt the canalismo. Like it's like these rap videos nowadays. All right, cool, shit. So I remember as we're walking up, I see Baby, and he's the center of attention. Not only because he's a homie that all the homeboys looked up to or they feared, right? But also because, you know, he would come from out of town. When he came, it was like a party every time. Even if you didn't want to party, that motherfucker made it a party. You're going to party because he wants to party, right? I'm going to tell you, man, he plays into a lot of stuff with me, right? Baby was the homie. So as I walk up, right, I see him. And he's got like 6 or 7 of the main homeboys surrounding him. Then there's all the youngsters. They're all like, you know, just around drinking and just chopping it up. And as I walk up, I catch him in mid-discussion. And it's me and the homie. We're just creeping, right? And he says Skinner, right? At that time, they didn't call me Gunner. They called me Skinner. Everyone knows the story. Gunner is my TN. That's the tier name that I got later on in prison and whatever, right? But they called me Skinner. Skinny Leonard, right? My name's Leonard. Skinny Leonard, right? So as I come walking up, he's like, Skinner, right? I'm like, what's up? He's like, what's up, boy? He gives me a hug. He's like, Skins is down to do it, huh? He's down. I know he's down. And I got me a pistol in my hand. 18 years old, they're already selling me pistol. Spencer, right? I got me a pistol and I'm drinking it and I'm like, down for what? He's like, just tell him, bro. Tell the homies you're down. You ain't like the rest of these clowns all scared and shit. You're down. I said, hell yeah, I'm down, fool. And I remember drinking the beer and I remember the beer exploding in my hand and getting cracked. Bam! Next thing you know, there's like 6 or 7 homeboys just on me. Boom, 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 boom. And I remember thinking in my mind, this was way before I ever knew what removals were and DPs and all that. We just called them getting your ass kicked, right? Oh shit, the homies don't like me no more. My career's over. And I'm sitting there sad that a motherfucker, but I'm trying to fight back. There's one homeboy, Carlos, right? Santos. I pick him up, slam him, bam! I'm trying to get on him, right? And the homies are just, hey, Baby's giving me the business. Boom! He's hit me solid. Boom! I'm going to tell you right now, this wasn't no 14 seconds. This was for a minute and 14 seconds. Because this was the double, right? So as they're fucking me up, boom, 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 I'm like, what the fuck? I start hitting the offense, defense. I don't want to be in North London no more. Right? Sold, that's it, sold. I'm going A-Town. Fuck you guys, right? They're beating the shit out of me, and then all of a sudden it stops. And I ain't going to lie, I'm on the ground. What happened? Right? And Baby picks me up, and he's like, that's right, you're from the hood again. Oh, I didn't know I wasn't from the hood, right? And he was like, well, we didn't know you got jumped in the first time. Motherfucker, you knew you was there when Monkey and all them jumped me in. You better stop it when I was a little kid. If you don't stop it, I think you kicked me in the face. This motherfucker, so this is how the discussion went. So basically, I got jumped in the hood again, voluntarily, without even voluntarily know what the fuck they were talking about, right? So as I guess we're walking up, they were having a discussion like, hey, man, if you're really about the hood, if you're really with the hood, then you'll get jumped in again, man. You know what I mean? You take one to give one, all that bullshit they were talking. Meanwhile, I'm here at the store. Hey, Baby's over there. The homeboys already knew, like, go over there, stupid ass. I know you're going to go get jumped, right? And I'm not even knowing I'm out there getting my pistol and a fucking bottle of Parmesan thinking I'm cool. And I walk over there just to get beat up on, right? It wasn't that the homeboys were taking advantage of it. They thought I was a cluck or nothing like that. It was just they knew I was stupid enough to fall for the fucking gimmick, right? For the trap. So that's what happened. And I guess as I was walking up, Baby was in mid like, man, watch, the homeboy right here, he's down. He'll do it. This is the homie. Sure enough, I was down and I got stomped down to the ground. So I ended up playing a joke, right? So where I lived, there's some fucking like ghetto, like Section 8 apartments right there. And not the Merced, not the Commons, right? But there's some other ones. And so I walk, I'm leaking. They fucked me up, right? I didn't even want, and my beer's all spilled, right? My bottle of Parmesan, I'm shaking, trying to drink it. I walk across the street, and my prima's there, and we live with the homegirl. So it's me, my prima, and the homegirl, this white chick that I used to run. I'll tell you, we're gonna call her Super Tirada. She's coming up soon, right? But man, the whole hood was on her. So as I walk in, she's like, "What happened?" She's getting on her bitch. Get out of my way, right? And my prima's like, "Oh, what?" She's a gangster. What's up? What's up, fool? Who did this to you, right? And I play a joke. The fucking Southsiders got me, right? She's like, "Fuck that, let's go get all the homies," right? So we go over there. I'm laughing because now I cleaned up, right? And the homies are like, "Nah, we beat his ass, fool," right? So that was that. But let me tell you about the Homeboy Baby, man. So one day I get involved in something I can't really speak on, right? Dangerous. And I remember I had to take off running. Motherfuckers was dumping. Doom, 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 doom. Right after a little something went down. And I make it into a fucking Motel 6. I run up the stairs, tell some tweaker, "I'll give you $50. Let me go in your pad," right? So I go in the little room, call the Homeboy Baby. This motherfucker pulled up chop session. He pulled up, whoa, big old strap. Throw all your fucking clothes in the fucking garbage bag, right? I remember took me to his house, made his fucking lady strip butt naked and cooked me eggs. It was a trip. He was on a good one, right? So the homie was solid, but he was the type that he just liked beating up on homeboys. He just liked fighting, and he just wanted to do some damage any chance he got. And he got me. So I got jumped in the hood twice. So here's another little thing about the Homeboy Baby, right? So trip out on this dude. So one day he ends up going to prison, and he was with the business. When I say with the business, he got pulled. He was an hermano, so he was somebody. At the time, I was a nobody. I was just a northerner. I was a homeboy, you know what I mean? But I wasn't like in the mix like that. So this full pull, I get a phone call. I'm at the homegirl's house, the homegirl Soli Soul, man. And I'm chilling right there with all the homegirls. And I remember all the homeboys that left, it was just me and all the chicks, and we're just chilling. I always stood around I always got chicks around me. Like, I'm trying to win, right? And fucking, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, fool, I need you to come to my pad." Now, he had never did it like this. It would usually be like, "Hey, what are you doing, fool? Come through, fool, slide." But he was being super serious. He was like, "Hey, bro, I need you to come to my pad right now." I was like, "Oh, shit," right? So the homegirls, I look shocked. So the homegirls look at me and I'm thinking, "Damn, what did I do? This motherfucker's going to kill me or something." Really, literally, that's the only time in my life I thought, well, there's been a couple times, but that was the time in my life I thought, the first time, like, "Damn, this motherfucker's going to get me. What did I do?" Right? And just the tone of his voice, he was super serio. And he had got out of prison on some super serious shit, right? Like, he was supposed to be running the town or whatever at that time. And he had moved back to his Hefos pad. I remember him and his white chick that he had fucking, it was crazy, right? So anyways, I tell the homegirls, this is how I am. I tell the homegirls, "If you guys don't see me no more, just remember I went to baby's house," right? So I remember walking. I didn't have a whip. I was ghetto. So I had to walk all the way from Alexander Court all the way to Charles and R and around the corner in the hood, which is a nice little walk. And the whole time I'm walking, looking at the stars, and it's nighttime. I'm looking at the fucking bats flying, and I'm thinking to myself, "Damn, I'm never going to see this again." But I'm pulling up, though. Like, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to find my way out of this. I wasn't strapped up or nothing. I was thinking, man, if I can go to the homeboy's house on the way and just get something, maybe I could win. Fuck it, though. If they're going to get me, they're going to get me. So as I go, this fool opens the door before I even knock on it. He was like, "What's up, fool?" And he's looking mean. And he got this crazy ass look he used to have. And he goes, "Sit down, fool." So I go in the living room. I'm like, "Oh, hell nah." And his chick's right there, and she won't even look at me. And he tells her, "Hey, go in the garage, man. Like, I got to talk to the homie right here." And I'm like, I'm looking like, does he have a gun? What's going on here? What the fuck is this, right? And as I sit down, the fool does it just like this. I remember to this day, I'll never forget. I was spooked. He says, "Your heart racing, fool?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit." He said, "Where's it at?" I said, "First place right now, motherfucker. In my heart, I'm running like a motherfucker, right?" And he goes, and he reaches like this, and he pulls out a pipe and puts it on the table. He goes, "You got any dough?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Bro, I be hearing about you. I heard you're out here balling out." I was like, "I got dough. Yeah, I got you." Shit, that's it? Motherfucker, you couldn't have just called me and told me you needed a pelota? I'd sent one of the homegirls. Man. Bro, I thought you was going to do something despicable to me. Really, man, you had this look in your eyes like only Diddy's had. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen right here, bro. We was about to be some fighting motherfuckers. I know you got hands, bro, but I got feet. 3 of them. Ask about me, right? He was like, No, I just want some dope. Yeah, a fool is a nut. I could tell you a million billion stories about the homie. And if you want more, man, I could tell you. But yeah, I did get jumped into the barrio twice. Um, but why? Why do people get jumped into the hood? And I was always under the understanding that the understanding was to me that, if you take one by the homies, you're willing to take one for the homies. At least that's what we said in our hood. I don't know if they still practice that, man. I don't know if Altos, it stopped being where I remember the last time motherfuckers got jumped in, there was two homeboys. One of the homeboys ended up doing a live case. He just got out. He ended up doing like 30 years, almost 30 years, man, for shooting someone over a pager, right? But I remember when they got jumped in, no, if not, he's different. My bad. It was two other homeboys. I just happened to pull up to the park and Baby was there for organizing everything, right? And I remember they were going to jump in these two homies at the same time. And one of them, they hit him so hard, he fell and got a bump on his head and they called him Bump. The other one was trying to chunk him, he tripped, so they called him Tripper. Right? True story. These vatos are well known. I never know what happened to Bump. Tripper ended up, I think he's fucking in Pelican Bay right now or something. Real life. So anyways, yeah, man, getting jumped in the body is a hood thing. I don't know if they still do it. I know a lot of neighborhoods still participate like that. But other hoods do they have different ways of recruiting or putting people on. But that's just the way I did it. So yeah, I got jumped in twice, man. The first time I volunteered, the second time they volunteered me for me. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, strive for what I truly believe in. And that's the betterment of all people. And I'm not trying to glorify this. I make it funny. But what was the sense in it? Getting beat up by the homies for what? That shit hurt, man. And at the end of the day, now all those homies are like, you're a piece of shit. Motherfucker, where was that at when I was fucking sacrificing sangre? You know what I mean? It's crazy life. The gun.